Chapter 15. Door in the face technique means making a very large request before asking for something more reasonable. Jessica Milford explains this using coffin prices in The American Way of Death. Sometimes being a part of a group leads us to shirk our responsibilities. How can we behave differently around others than we do we others? Social learning is shirking our responsibility because being in a group, or free riding. We slack off, exerting ourselves less than we might otherwise in a group. When we think people are involved, we tend to let others do most of the work, which is not necessarily a conscious decision. The diffusion of responsibilities, the tendency to be less likely to take action if others are available. It's the sharing of glory and blame. We assume someone else will answer. The bystander effect is the tendency of each person in an emergency to expect others to intervene, so the larger the group, the less likely each member is to help. Sometimes being a part of a group can lead us to do the wrong thing. De-individualization is the psychological process of losing your own individual identity and coming to identify with the crowd. The crowd may do things the individual never considered doing alone. It's a bigger aspect of diffusion of responsibility. Anonymity is so no one knows where I am. Larger the crowd, more likely to take place. Feelings of commonality. Sometimes being part of a group leads us to make faulty decisions. Groupthink is the tendency to make faulty decisions. A group of people eager to make unanimous decisions that they suppress their critical thinking. We can avoid group thinking by ensuring the minority and dissenting views get full fair hearing. Albert Tucker created an intellectual exercise that demonstrates a case of basic conflict in social relations. The prisoner's dilemma. An intellectual exercise used to study the role of cooperation and competition. Two people are arrested and interrogated separately and accused of a crime. It arises because the problem arises because the participants cannot communicate with one another. Altruism is the practice of putting others before oneself, good for others, no benefit for self. The ground squirrel will sacrifice itself in order to warn its family members that a hawk is flying above it. Inclusive fitness is how successful individuals are at spreading their own genes in any fashion, including benefiting relatives. Favor altruism towards your relatives, also spread your genes. Social exchange theory is the notion that we help others even if they are unrelated to us because they may someday help us back. Neuroeconomics is the study of the neural basis of making economic decisions. It offers insight to decision-making in everyday real-life context. We hate loss far more than we enjoy gain. Loss adverse is the characteristic of being very reluctant to do anything that might lead to loss. Friendship and romance. Friends have things in common and reciprocate, tend to make friends with people who have things in common with us. We may share religious values, moral values, sports, arts, or academics. Relationship grows and deepens when we reveal more about ourselves. With growth, we are less likely to make the fundamental attribution error about our friends. Married people tend to be happier and healthier than single people. Marriage at a young age may not be a good idea. It's a greater risk for divorce. There are 3 components to a romantic relationship. Robert Steinberg, who also had the ideas about the multiple intelligences, offered a way of thinking about the different aspects of romantic relationships. Triangular theory of love is the proposal that romantic relationships are composed of different proportions of passion, intimacy, and commitment. Passion is the exciting feeling of desire. Commitment is the decision to stay together and make plans. Intimacy is the feeling of closeness and high regard. Relationships that fulfill all 3 factors are more satisfactory.